Hey, it's Atlas. Time to sharpen up. Let's get into it. Here is the uncomfortable truth most self-help will never tell you. Discipline is not a personality you were born with or born without. It is not a special gene that some lucky people inherited and you somehow missed. The strongest evidence we have says self-control is mostly situational. It depends far more on the room you are standing in than on the willpower you are carrying. That changes everything. Because if discipline is a trait, then the people who lack it are just broken, and the only fix is to feel guilty and try harder. But if discipline is an environment, then it is buildable. It is designable. You can engineer it on a Tuesday afternoon with no motivation at all. So today I am going to show you the science that quietly demolished the old story and then hand you the new one. By the end, you will stop trying to become a more disciplined person. You will start building a life where discipline barely gets asked to show up. You know the marshmallow test. A 4-year-old sits at a table with one marshmallow. The researcher says, "You can eat this now, or wait a few minutes and get 2. Then they leave. Some kids inhale it instantly. Some white knuckle it and wait. And the famous follow-up claimed that the ones who waited grew up to score higher on tests, earn more, and generally win at life. For decades, this was sold as proof that willpower is destiny. Then in 2018, researchers Tyler Watts, Greg Duncan, and Haonan Quan ran a much bigger and more careful version of that study. They used a sample roughly 10 times larger than the original. Crucially, they controlled for the child's family background, early cognitive ability, and home environment. The famous effect mostly collapsed. The link between waiting and later success came out at about half the strength the original reported. Once they accounted for family background and home environment, it shrank by about 2/3. What looked like raw willpower turned out to be, in large part, a stand-in for the kind of home a kid grew up in. The marshmallow was never really measuring a magic inner trait. It was measuring the situation that built the child. It gets more interesting, because there is direct evidence that the test was reading the room, not the child. In 2013, researchers led by Celeste Kidd ran the marshmallow task with a twist. Before the test, they showed some kids a reliable adult who kept her promises, and showed other kids an unreliable adult who broke them. Then came the marshmallow. The kids who had learned the environment was reliable waited an average of around 12 minutes. The kids who had learned it was unreliable waited about 3. Same children, same self-control, wildly different behavior. The only thing that changed was whether waiting was a smart bet. Now sit with that. The kid who eats the marshmallow fast is not weak. In an unreliable world, eating it is the rational move. Self-control was not a fixed amount of grit inside the child. It was a response to context. And it is not just about trust. In a 2020 study, Rebecca Kuhlman and colleagues paired children up so that each kid only got the second treat if their partner also held out. When their patience was tied to someone else, children waited substantially longer than they did on the solo version across 2 very different cultures. Discipline turned out to be relational. We hold the line better when someone is holding it with us. So is willpower fake? No, there is a real system for it. Your prefrontal cortex, the executive region behind your forehead, can override an impulse. It can notice the cookie, weigh the goal, and veto the grab. That top-down control is genuine, and it matters. But here is the catch. That kind of effortful control is expensive. It demands focused attention, and it competes with everything else your brain is doing. When you are tired, stressed, hungry, or mentally drained, that override gets weaker and slower. This is why your diet survives the morning meeting and dies at 9 p.m. on the couch. It is not a character flaw. It is a system running low on resources at the exact moment temptation peaks. Which leads to the only sane conclusion. Betting your goals on willpower being available all day, every day, is betting on the one resource most likely to be empty when you need it. Relying on raw self-control is not noble. It is bad design. So we stop relying on it. We do what the people who seem effortlessly disciplined actually do, usually without realizing it. They engineer the room so the right choice is the easy one and the wrong choice takes effort. This is choice architecture, and it runs on 3 levers: friction, defaults, and cues. Friction first. Make the bad behavior annoying and the good behavior frictionless. Put your phone in another room while you work, not face down on the desk in another room. Every extra step you add to a temptation is a step your tired brain may not bother taking. Then strip friction off the good thing. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Keep the cut vegetables at eye level and the chips on a high shelf. You need a stool to reach. Defaults. Second, we tend to take the path already set for us, so set it on purpose. Automate the transfer to savings the day you get paid, before you can feel it. Pre-commit. Schedule the workout as a calendar block with a friend, so skipping it means canceling on a person, not just on yourself. Cues. Last. So much behavior is just a response to a trigger. The notification, the open tab, the bowl of candy on the counter. Remove the cue, and you remove the craving before it ever fires. You do not need the willpower to resist the alert if you turn the alert off. None of this is glamorous. That is the point. The disciplined choice should be boring, automatic, and slightly easier than the alternative. Now scale that beyond your room and into your relationships. The social environment is one of the most powerful levers you have, and most people leave it completely unused. Remember the paired marshmallow study. Children held out longer when their reward was tied to a partner. Adults are no different. When a goal is shared, when someone is counting on you and you are counting on them, the cost of quitting goes up, and so does your follow-through. So build it in. Find a training partner. Join the group that shows up at the same time every week. Tell one specific person your specific goal and ask them to check on it. Put money on the line with a friend who keeps it if you flake. You are not borrowing their willpower. You are restructuring the situation so that letting yourself down also means letting someone else down. And we are wired to feel that second one far more sharply. Discipline, it turns out, is partly a team sport. The people who have it are usually surrounded by people who expect it. Here is where most people get the order exactly backwards. They believe you first become a disciplined person, and then, because of that identity, you do the disciplined things. So they sit around waiting to feel like that person before they act. The real sequence runs the other way. You build the environment carries the behavior. The behavior repeats day after day because the room made it easy. And only after it has repeated enough to become automatic do you finally look back and think, I guess I am the kind of person who does this. Identity is not the cause. It is the result. It is what forms after the structure has done, the heavy lifting for long enough that the habit stops feeling like a choice. You do not discipline your way into a new life. You design a life that makes the discipline almost unnecessary, and the identity arrives later to take the credit. So, let's put the old story to rest. Discipline is not a trait you were issued at birth and have to ration for the rest of your life. It is largely situational. The people who seem to have endless willpower mostly built environments where willpower barely has to show up. That should feel like relief, not pressure. Because you cannot reliably summon more grit on command. But you can move your phone. You can change a default. You can text one friend tonight. You can redesign the room. Stop trying to become a more disciplined person. Build a world that makes you one by accident. Knowing it isn't enough. Go do it. Subscribe to Mindset Mechanics, and let's build that discipline together.